It's not the best intro I've ever done, but you know what? We got through it, bro. My follow animation came through right at the end and just ruined the whole thing, man. I'm trying to put on this super professional production and just got turboed. That's fine. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Old Mood Podcast, episode 30. I am your host, Blue Squadron, of course, joined with my co-host every week. We'll start with Tiltus here.
Hello, I am Tiltus TV. I am a Dark Knight main. I am a huge Dark Souls enjoyer as well, and I do armored combat.
Oh, no kidding. I'm going to be starting Elden Ring here in the next couple days for the very first time.
I am going to watch every moment of that.
I've never played a Dark Souls game before, so...
Oh, dude.
It's going to be an adventure.
It's a slippery slope, Blue.
It's going to be an adventure. And my boy, J-Kun.
Hello, I'm J-Kun VT, V before the T. I'm an awakening Wusa enjoyer with 760 gear score, and I do a lot of endgame PvE content, such as Olins, the dungeons, and welcome to the Old Moon Podcast episode 30. Oh my god, I did it.
Right on!
J-Kun did it, everybody.
First try!
Not a single stumbled word, dude. He did it.
All right. First try. Yeah, no, you might know Jay. He was recently featured on an Asmongold video for 3 or 4 seconds. No. He is famous.
Famous, yeah, I know.
He is famous. All right,
it was
so
like the highlight of that fucking day for me. It was like zooming in really close and being like, "Look, Mom, there I am. I made it. I did it."
It was very obviously the Mike Wazowski of BDO. Like,
dude, that
covered
gif,
by the logo.
Had me crying, dude. That was so funny.
The logo covers his face. I'm on the cover of a magazine. All right, so our first topic today, and one of our primary topics today, is going to be the War of the Roses, which premiered for the very first time in Korea this week. So a few of our English-speaking Korean players played it, and we all got to kind of watch and see what that content kind of looked like for the very first time. So let's go around first. Let's talk about first impressions. Jay, I assume you've watched it. Like, you're not a big PvP enjoyer. Yes. From the PvE perspective, how did this look for you? Does this look fun?
Well, you know, I was analyzing Hugh's VOD, and you know, I was actually a little bit excited, to be honest, from what I saw. And I was a little bit of at the edge of my seat at the very end because, you know, to sort of recap of what had happened on Hugh's team at the Cam and Sylvia, they were ahead in the beginning for capturing the nodes. But then Odolita team was able to capture like this sort of critical root node from the Cam and Sylvia team that disconnected all the other nodes that Cam and Sylvia had. And it made it pretty much impossible for them to catch up because what had happened. So it seemed like a lot of coordination and cooperation is much more important than personal skill to win the War of the Roses, which is why I'm excited, because I don't have much personal skill.
Get out! Are you telling me that working together?
Also...
No.
Yeah. Working together is very important, apparently. There also seems to be a lot of focus on war vehicles and mounts, from which I saw in the VOD. And, you know, there was a bunch of elephants and these other, like, sort of these, it was like a carriage. There was like a carriage with cannons on it. And they were actually like taking the nodes pretty quickly. So if you're somebody who sucks at the combat of BDO, you can, you know, but you can ride an elephant or one of the other war vehicles and you can still participate in the war effort quite effectively. So... there was one thing though that I noticed, which I did have a little bit of concern with, was the travel distance between the nodes, and I'm not too sure if there's a way to revive your horse after you die every time. But one thing I noticed was Hugh he has 3 T10s, so he has the Krogdalu Sanctuary item, and even if your horse dies with it, you can revive and summon it back with that item back on spot, which seems really, really powerful in a mode where getting from point A to point B is really powerful. Right. So Hugh made it even a note that the Krogdalu Sanctuary is like the best in slot for the mode, which sucks because getting 3 to 10 is it's a little bit hard right now, you know. So
that's bullshit. That's a little bit hard right now. Jay, take the right now off there. Okay. Like, it's just hard forever. At no point can you expect people to have to get 3 T10 horses like that.
But yeah, overall good impressions. First good impressions as a PvE player. So
okay, right on. Tiltus is a PvP enjoyer. I know you haven't been playing a crazy amount of video. It doesn't mean you haven't been watching it. What do you think?
this is probably the thing I'm most excited about in the game currently. The thing that kind of trips me up with it is that there is a dedicated server for it, which is really nice. It's something we've asked for Siege and Node Wars for God knows how long. So that was nice. There's not a bunch of excess stuff happening on the server.
It's on its own. It's an instance.
Yeah, Odalita 1. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is a huge step in the right direction. And watching through Hugh's VOD, he talked about that there was very little lag. And granted, Korea does have a lot less lag in general than NA does, but still, getting that many players together at the same time and not having massive lag spikes even in Korea is a good thing. Dedicated server is a good thing as well. And all in all, it looked really fun. It actually looked fun, and I like that there is PvE mixed in with the PvP, and you have to kill, these super tanky mobs in order to, capture the points. And I personally, here's the thing. So Hugh's team lost because they lost one very critical node, right? That is the only time that will happen for the rest of the time that War of the Roses goes on. I guarantee it. There's some other games I like to play that are like real time, like war style games. And we like to call it partisaning, which is where you go to the enemy backline and you disrupt the backline as much as you can, far away from the actual front of what's happening. So the fact that you could like back capture nodes and stuff like that while the enemy's not paying attention is really cool. But like I said, this is probably the only time that will happen because now everybody's always going to watch their backline at all times. So it's unfortunate he lost that way, but I think all in all, that won't happen that often.
So he got backdoored is what you're telling me.
Yeah, he got backdoored, straight up got backdoored and lost, everything they had done up to that point. I like that kind of stuff though, because I love going into the enemy backline and just being as disruptive as possible. I mean, imagine if you have a platoon just roll up on some random node somewhere, and now you've got to dedicate people to making sure there's not people over there anymore. It's one of my favorite ways to play like PvP games, especially large scale stuff like this. So all in all, I think it looked really good. I'm pretty excited for it. The commander abilities looked a little lackluster. But I think maybe that they'll be more situational as people start learning, okay, we're getting back capped. Okay, let me summon an ogre over there, and that kind of stuff. So I think it's got a lot of promise. I'm still a little skeptical for the NA release, but the Korean showing I think was like good. I think it looked really good. So.
Okay. Yeah, right on. Like, I kind of want to look at the commander because that's the thing that I really want to do, right? Like, I would love to be the commander. The I only got like bits and pieces of what the commander looked like, but it looked like they were straight like Ender from Ender's Game. Like, there's like a million things going on. You have like 300 people that you're moving around and clicking and dragging to different points and trying to tell what to do, and that is super cool to me. That's like a super high APM because, like, honestly, let's be honest, the RTS genre is dying. So, like, there's only probably one RTS players per 600 of us, and I'm that guy. And so, like, I think the idea of the commander is really cool. Obviously, maybe they clean up the UI and stuff a little bit, but the biggest thing that I kind of want to look at here is that this is essentially Battlefront 2.
Yep.
Right? This is essentially what this is just Battlefront 2. And the best part about Battlefront 2 was turning into a Jedi or turning into a Sith and just pounding ass. Right? And just going in, like you became a hero and you just went in. The BDO equivalent of that are these tanks, right? Like these vehicles and stuff. And as Jay said, it was really cool to see like the vehicles play a very integral role. Like I want to be able to see a tank and just like jump in and be like, oh baby, here we go, we're gonna go pound some. You know what I mean? Like, and just like drive it around. So that was like really cool to me. There were definitely some bugs that I saw in there as well. But like, like the tanks just like wouldn't die sometimes, like everybody's just dogpiling it. But it did kind of, I don't know, it felt a little scattered. As you said, it's all about coordination, but there's just simply no way to coordinate 300 people necessarily at the same time. I think that inevitably what it's going to be on NA is a bunch of, like, it's going to just be a bunch of mercs running around RBFing for 2 hours. And yeah, you're gonna have some objective based gamers like myself or you know, even Tiltus, you're an objective based gamer, right? Could run around and like try to take points and stuff. But I think it's going to be kind of hard to pin players down in NA. What do you guys think?
I think my prediction is for the first couple of months, it'll probably go off like pretty like, okay, commander wants us to go do this, let's go do this kind of thing for a little while. And then eventually it'll probably devolve into like the, you know, all right, this platoon is just RBFing somewhere in left field. We have no idea what they're doing right now, you know? So maybe it'll do that. I did see something in here that like, Jay, you probably know a little bit more about this, but like commanders can like punish if you're trolling or AFK or something like that, right?
I not too sure about that.
Okay, so I see Hugh has a note. It's note number 11. It says trolling/AFK commanders have power for reward punishment. His English is not perfect, so I'm not sure if that's like actually the commander or if that's like the commander can punish people that are griefing. So I don't know. But that could potentially be a problem. He does say that you have to follow the commander's vision. I didn't get to that point in the video. I only made it to like point number 5 on this before we started. But we'll see. I feel like there's probably a way you can handle that.
I mean,
yeah, it's hard to say for sure until we have it on hand.
Yeah.
So.
Can you access the entire world when you're on Odalita 1? Or do they like put an invisible wall up so you can't go after outside a certain point?
Let's see.
I asked this for 2 reasons.
I don't think they have been.
Yeah, I asked this for 2 reasons. One, can people just abandon the battlefield? That sucks, right? And just troll. 2, can people do like this wide wrap situation and like get in behind and take points behind, or do you have to basically run straight at your opponent? Like, do we know for sure?
I'm not too sure for sure, but I imagine there is a boundary just to keep everything, you know, in the participating area.
So at the end of his VOD, he is still on Odalita 1 after it's over, and he is in Grana. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's region locked, you know, only to Kama Sylvia or something like that. And then as far as what was your second point there? Train of thought completely lost my brain there.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of points here. It's like, so one of the biggest points is that so they lost that point and then they just simply could not recover after losing their rear command post. And so like honestly, looking at the map, yeah, I mean it kind of does look like Kama Sylvia just can't get out. If you take that hinge point command post, I mean it's basically just over. And Odie might be the same thing. So like honestly, that's pretty easily changed though, right? I am a little concerned. We didn't actually get to see everybody converge down on the final boss the way I wanted to. And have like all 600 players on the screen at once, because I think that's where the lag is. He said there's no lag. 2 problems with that statement. 1, it's Korea. There's very little lag overall in Korea anyway. Okay, so let's not get too crazy excited. Number 2, we didn't get to see the part of War of the Roses that would actually lag the hardest, right? I will say it was kind of cool to see an instance in BDO where you don't have to have a shot caller screaming at you to do stuff, but you were all still working together for a common goal. Do you guys like that, or would you guys rather have me screaming at you? Jay?
You know, I would rather have some person screaming at me, to be honest, because I lose track of things all the time, and so if somebody's there to keep me in check, then it makes it easier for me to, you know, submit, you know what I mean? So
Jesus Christ. You know what really killed me about that whole statement was that he said it makes it easier for me to submit, and then I look over at his model and it's just got this dumbass smile on it. So stupid.
Somebody clip that out of context.
Deltas, what do you think? Would you rather like sitting in comms with the boys and like you're kind of just talking and it's more relaxed, but the commander's giving you guys orders in the background, or would you rather have the shot caller there? I mean, you have the perspective of the shot caller, you have the perspective of the flex lead, and like being a general member. Which one would you prefer more?
So I think one of the things that Hugh brought up at the end was that it's very relaxed. It's very low stress for the people that are actually playing, which is a huge step. He even specifically brought up the fact that you can't be screamed at by your guild master. Like at the end, he was like, you know, this isn't a node war. You know, I can't be screamed at by my GM. So I think that's cool because it takes out a lot of that like internal hostility that can happen when you are the shot caller and you are screaming at people and you're calling people by name and telling them to get on the stick and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So I think it's good and bad. I think that there's still all of the other node wars and conquest wars still exist. So if you want that way more structured, large scale PvP, join a big PvP guild and you'll have it. I think this is like a side piece of like, hey, I want to do some fun PvP. I'm just going to go sign up and I'm just going to play for 2 hours and I'm going to have fun. I think that's a really good thing. And I think that's something that maybe BDO was missing. So I'm actually a huge fan of not having a like dedicated shot caller that's screaming at you, and you kind of do have the ability to kind of do what you want, you know, even if you're griefing a little bit. So
I think that most players on the server would agree with you, but I also feel like it's an affront on my content.
I mean, I was a shot caller too. I mean, I've literally screamed at people until I was red in the face. I mean, half the clips on my channel are just of me shot calling and losing my mind, you know, mental booming on people. So it's, you know, I totally get it, but at the same time, like sometimes I just want to hang out. Like I recently started playing a ton of ARAM in League because it's way less stressful, and I can just be like, all right, I'm just gonna hang out with the boys and do something fun for a little bit. So I think this is something BDO is missing. So I'm a huge fan of just being able to be like, hey, I'm just gonna go do some PvP, man. It's time, and not have to worry about, you know, getting screamed at for it later.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm kind of back and forth about it. I think the shot caller yelling at you it always has been like an integral part of our large scale experience, but also seeing this now, I'm pretty sure we should transition to this as like do we think, like, I think that Node Wars would probably be better if they restructured it to be something more like this. I think that people would have more fun with Node Wars.
Do you think there should be how do I word it? Like that RTS thingy for Node Wars? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, like something like this. I think that people, I mean, you could also you could have the vehicles and stuff, right? You could do
back like the militia system.
Yeah, you could do outposts and stuff. This could be just a much bigger version of what happens in Node Wars. Like I think that, plus it would probably get a lot more players, like, I don't know, participating in Node Wars and stuff, because they don't have somebody screaming at them and calling them out in front of 1,000 people. Like that's scary for a lot of players. That even just to be scared or called out in front of the whole guild is like super scary. And I think it's what deters people from getting into large scale PvP. But if they can just sit at their computer and then maybe just sit in voice and just be quiet and like kind of do their thing and like focus on what's going on the screen and kind of do their best, I think that they're probably a lot more prone to kind of jump in and try it. Jay, do you think that do you think that that's kind of a direction that maybe they might want to go in here?
I have no idea what direction is the correct direction. I know that for for a while now, you know, BDO has, I feel like Node Wars for the most part have stayed structurally the same since the beginning, if I'm not mistaken. And I think a lot of people did have fun with that same structure, and I think either way, whether they stay with this structure or not, or they transition into something else, I think BDO designs some really fun systems that I'm not the most interested in, but, you know, if people are interested in, you know, I'm always for people joining in and, you know, playing more, participating more, playing the game more, and, you know, having BDO have more success and whatever. So
right. Do you think so do you guys think that, like, okay, what if, so stepping away from like putting it in Node Wars and Siege, so they're probably not going to do that, right? What if
probably not,
they look at doing something like this for large scale PvE content? What if they have like this commander style thing that you can do with your guild and everyone can kind of jump in, and there's like, you have to take command posts and stuff, but you're fighting against essentially the AI, a bunch of mobs and stuff.
The Lesra again.
Oh my god!
Again,
not this woman again.
Correct.
No more. Like, we gotta get away from this woman. We're brainwashed. We're brainwashed. So like, would you rather see large scale PvE content that has the shot caller in it? Because like, I feel like that kind of large scale PvE content with a shot caller is honestly probably better. I feel like the large scale PvE content where you're actually talking to each other in call, because there's a lot less toxicity that goes into it when you're not fighting other players. So me personally, if they're going to introduce it, I think I like the shot caller for the large scale PvE content. And like we'll start with Tiltus. Tiltus, I know you're agreeing, but like what specifically about it do you think that makes you agree?
So I think the best thing that BDO could do right now is introduce a way for a large number of people to get together and casually have fun playing together. I think that's something that we've been lacking for a while. We talk about it almost every week or every other week at this point.
That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, so I mean, it's an MMO, right? We're playing a massive multiplayer game. It should feel like a massive multiplayer game, and sometimes BDO kind of feels like solo. So I think anything that casually introduces players to play together and to do stuff together is a huge step in the right direction. I think PvE is a perfect stepping stone for people. I mean, we've talked about all sorts of different PvE ideas to get players plugged in and playing with one another in a casual setting that's not going to lead to a lot of toxicity and that's just there to have fun. Obviously we play an MMO, so we want to have some kind of reward for doing it, but large scale PvE content with some kind of shot caller or somebody leading, the group in some form or fashion would be a huge step in the right direction for BDO, all across the board.
I mean, like that's what MMOs are about, right? Is getting together with the boys and then going to knock something out. You know what I mean? Nothing feels better than getting the boys together and then going to knock some stuff out. Like in BDO, it just happens to be that it's always PvP content, which in my opinion is always it's scary to get into PvP content like that, and so it deters a lot of players. But also the reward is probably, I don't know. I feel like the reward, the only experience that I can really compare it with is Destiny, and I feel like the reward that I got out of beating Destiny raids and doing like group content in Destiny was way higher than the reward I get for doing PvP and BDO, like Node Wars and Siege. So I feel like it would be more rewarding across the board. Jay, you said you like the shot calling content. You like it when people are yelling at you. So I assume you're in camp. I would like a grown man to scream at me.
Yes.
For
like
my large scale PvE.
Yes. My large scale PvE. Yes. Yes, 100%. I mean, I've always been talking about in these 30 past episodes here and there about PvE raids, and maybe a larger scale raid would work. I feel like the PvE content has always been received positively for the most part, and a lot of the new PvP content that we've been getting, I think first there was RBF, and then they tried out this like Garmoth's Nest thing that just like blew. Is that still a thing? Can you still?
Oh yeah, it's still here. That's how bad it is. Jay didn't even know that it was still in the game.
The funny thing is, if you go into we tried to do a guilds training thing one time in Garmoth's Nest. If people see people in Garmoth's Nest, they will join. It is really funny. It doesn't matter if it's 10 people or 20 people. It will fill up. It's weird.
It's because
nobody will voluntarily go in there by themselves and try to get it rolling. It's that's very strange.
Going in by yourself gives me you know how I don't know, if you're going into a call, right? You don't want to be the first person to join the call first.
Oh no, dude! I would literally hop in a call and sit there by myself for an hour and wait for somebody to join.
Oh no.
No, I'm it's because honestly, think of yourself as your standard RBF player. You're literally in this game mode so that you can flex your EP on these smaller geared players, right? And just shit on people. Okay, when you see people in Garmoth's Nest, the first thought through your head is that is a PvX guild trying to do a guild GVG.
Yep.
I'm in. You know what I mean? You just go into it. So that's why people are really joining it when they see a bunch of people in there, is because they know that you're going to figure out what guild GVG is going on in there. I actually liked that you could do guild GVGs back in the day. But now you can't really do that anymore because they kind of took away the server specific GVG stuff like that. As far as large scale PvE content goes, we've been asking for this forever. But and I'll get into that a little bit about the Calpheon ball in a little bit here. But so it's an instance, it's on its own server. Are you guys concerned about the lag now? Are you less concerned? Are you not concerned at all, having seen it on KR? Do you guys think that because that's the biggest problem that I think a lot of players are like super skeptical about. I think it looks really fun. I think they've they nailed it here. Honestly, you want the honest, you want the hot take. I think the vehicles could be spiced up a little bit. If I'm being honest.
As long as you can kill them.
Yeah, I think the
as
vehicles.
Long as they get rid of that bug.
I think the vehicles could be spiced up a little bit. I think they went in a direction with the vehicles that I don't feel like fits the thematic of like our world. I felt like they could have had like this giant like battering ram where like you're pushing it, you know, like the orcs in Lord of the Rings, you know, and it's like boom, and it's just like slamming against the wall or whatever, and like that would be super cool. They could have also had this giant catapult that like does this like cool mechanic thing. Instead, we went with a giant cannon that's like mounted on like some horses and stuff. That was kind of weird. Like the trebuchet and all that stuff. Like I feel like there was a lot of different directions. I felt like it was kind of weird that they chose these specific vehicles to kind of go with. But do you guys think that the lag is really going to be a problem in North America, having seen what it does in KRJ?
I have high hopes that it's because it's on its own server and there is, you know, everybody's spread out, that the lag will be a lot better than from what I've experienced in the past when everybody's converging on Valencia Castle and I just can't, you know, please try again in a moment every 2 seconds.
That's probably just your ISP, Jay. That's not the server.
I see. My bad.
Sounds like a you problem. Yeah.
Wait, I have high hopes. I have. That's the only thing I can have. Actually, is hopes.
Opium. Opium.
Well, I'm here to shit on that because I do not think it's gonna work. I think that we still have server issues. And they've tried to fix them once, and then that was the end of it. And then last year we were told they're going to move to centralized servers, and that was a lie. So I am.
It's not a lie. It's going to happen. Don't take this from me.
They're just late.
They're just right. I'm very.
Just haven't
skeptical.
said anything about it in the last 364 days.
I'm very skeptical. I do like that it has its own dedicated server. I do think that is probably the best solution that they have for lag on NA right now. The question is if all 300 or all 600 people converge on a single spot, what is going to happen to the game? And that's the scary part for me. It is spread out, so that's not going to happen often. But you get 600 players on the screen, and everything just turns to shit almost immediately. So I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I'm like, to say the least, I am also extremely skeptical. I think it's actually probably going to be just fine at the beginning. It's going to be the opposite of Siege. It's in Siege, when it starts, it's just it's this wonderful PowerPoint presentation that Jay has gotten together for us for the week. But I think that in this, I think at the start it's actually probably going to be okay once everybody kind of spreads out a little bit and like kind of goes after their certain points and stuff. But I'm very concerned that when everybody converges on the same point, that instead of giving this epic boss battle, that we're just gonna get like this and please try again in a moment until it's dead. So I am a little concerned about that for sure. As far as theory crafting goes, as far as strategy goes, now part of the reason that I asked about like, hey, is the region open? Is there like some sort of wall that you can't get around? Like, did we see anything about the boats? Did what, like, because I don't feel like anybody, I looked around, I couldn't find any of the boat.
There was nothing boat related from what I saw in the VOD. I didn't see anybody go in the ocean, so
that was something that they told us we were gonna get. I don't think War of the Roses is completely finished yet. I'm hoping it's not. So I'm hoping that those boat point, because there were if you remember, there were islands that were in the ocean that had command posts on them in their presentation.
Right.
So I do think that like maybe that is an option. I think it would be really cool if you could get especially like, I don't know if the guild galley, the upgraded guild galley is going to be an option, but if it is, if you could load up a couple of platoons onto the guild galley, and
that's what I'm saying. So you get this like caravan of boats of these Ebenruth Knoll badass gamers are sailing around you, and they're escorting like this ferry of like 100 players, and you're just sailing to like a really far back node, and you just unload. You have to like get it there, right? So like the other boats are trying to crash onto you, and you're just trying to get it there, and then everyone offloads and they gotta come defend it. That would be sick. That would be super cool. And like most of the time, I think that like BDO's like naval content has been hot garbage.
Yep.
But in this kind of a case, I think that there's a possibility to make sea content like super relevant. I know there's people saying blue battlefield. Put the gun down. No one cares about that. That's never gonna work. But like in this case, it's basically like you're ferrying players from one side to the other, and you're trying to backdoor. And I think that honestly would have helped Hugh's team. They got backdoored super hard. They couldn't get across the bridge. They couldn't make much happen on that back Sylvia node. But if they could ferry their troops across the ocean and backdoor an enemy node, okay, well then they now we can get out onto the map again. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So like, I think that hopefully they introduce boats. I didn't see anything about them, but like I think it adds a dynamic to like taking the nodes and like the battlefield overall that I think is just super cool. And like it also allows people to use this in-game boat stuff that, let's be honest, they've been building for like 2 years.
Yep. And we just got another boat recently too with a flamethrower on it. Like there's all sorts of there's all sorts of like content there that you could add in. Hopefully I really hope that they add it in, because I really liked the presentation that they gave. I don't have a screenshot of it, but you know, there were islands and things. There was like 2 command posts in the water that were connected either to the castles or something like that. So like it always gives you an opportunity to branch out. I am a little concerned that there is only one node that connects to the castle. I see why it's there. I don't think it'll probably ever happen again, because when NA gets it, there's always going to be somebody on that node watching it, so the backdooring thing will probably never happen again. But it is a little bit concerning. I think it would be better if maybe there was 2 that were connected to the castle. That way you could at least get out. But
yeah. I think it would be pretty cool, but like again, I think the boats kind of solves that issue.
Yeah,
like because then you can add it. Yeah, like you can kind of go around stuff. Like I don't know, like the first people that I really saw introduce boat content in a large scale PvP was Digital. Unironically, they had some dude out in the middle. They're like, "Where's this cannon shooting from?" And we look out, and it's like Tom Hanks on a raft with a cannon firing. And they're just hitting the base like alphas. You know what I mean? But like just that kind of goes to show you that like our boat content currently in our large scale PvP is like super primitive.
Yep.
Super primitive. And I think this is kind of an opportunity to bring this in. Now they did tease like the super badass guild galleys. Like, do you guys think that we're actually going to get that content, or is that because we haven't heard about centralized servers either? Like, so okay, all right. Yeah. So we'll transition this a little bit into the Calpheon ball. So like, I'm curious. I know we're going to be talking about PvE balance if we have time here, but like. Predictions for the Calpheon ball as far as things, because there's a lot of rumors going on. Chris Polly seems to have an inside track with someone at Pearl Abyss and keeps releasing all these videos about classes and stuff that I think are just totally bogus. And it's literally him just asking ChatGPT what's going to happen next. But like, do you guys? I can't make this up. I literally cannot make this up. But like, do you guys have any like predictions for the Calpheon ball and like what content that we're kind of looking at now that we're kind of seeing War of the Roses? This is fleshed out and we're delivering it. Maybe some of the missed promises from last year, like the centralized servers and things like this. But like what new stuff do you think we're going to be getting? Jay, I'll start with you.
New stuff.
Yeah.
Probably a new region, new class, new region. Those are like easy, low-hanging fruits, right?
So basic, dude. God, you're so basic. God, dude. Immediately takes the cop-out answer. Nobody cares. Like,
okay, there's gonna be somebody on stage saying, "I'm sorry." We're gonna talk about a lot of.
What are we playing bingo here? Like, what's happening right now?
But, I locked in my final answer. New region, new class.
New region, new class. Tiltus, what do you want to see from the Calpheon ball? What do you think we're going to see?
I will do you one better. I think that there was a time when there was a specific class that everybody kind of got hyped about potentially being released, and I think Pearl Abyss may have ran with it. So my hopium answer is I hope that they're going to announce that they're releasing Necromancer and that it's cool as fuck. That's my hopium answer. My realistic answer is definitely we're getting a new region. And then my like dream to make BDO like sick and like really inspire some people to play again is a large scale raid. not a dungeon. Like, let Atraxia 4 be a large scale raid that you need, 10 to 20 people to play, and you can go in and do that. I think large scale PvE content in the form of a raid would be huge for BDO. It'd be so awesome. That's my PvE hope. So Necromancer and raid.
I found
What are
another
you
answer.
typing into ChatGPT? What are you doing right now?
They're gonna bring back Altar of Blood. That's my hopium.
Ew.
They're gonna bring back Altar of Blood.
They did say they were reworking it. They did say they were reworking it. Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, so you're on the hopium of the raid and stuff. I think that we're gonna I think they will tease a new region, but I don't think that is anywhere near close. I think that if we do get a new region, I think it's going to be probably 6 to 8 months from where we are currently. 6 months at least from the Calpheon Bowl itself, probably.
Yeah.
At a minimum.
Minimum for Korea.
So we will see a light trailer and that, like a teaser. You know what I mean? And I think new class is pretty obviously they'll tease a new class for sure. But I think that this is their opportunity to do something big. Neither of you talked about the gear progression, where we have been in gear progression for the last 2.5 years or so, as they introduced Dead God. And so first they introduced Coffrus, realized that was a bad idea, stopped us at C10, and started dropping Dead Gods left, right, and center. Right? So we've had this Dead God armor, okay, the next Dead God's gonna release, okay, the next Dead God's gonna release, blah, 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 blah. Now they have to make a pivot, right? Because all the Dead God armor is out now, for the most part. What are we going to see next, right? What's the direction that they want to go in with their end game, or with their, with their gear progression? And usually when they do something like this and they introduce a big pivot, usually we see some sort of big class change. Whether it be the Succession was released, when around the time the Conference was kind of introduced, and then when the next time they had to start introducing Dead God, we kind of got class reworks. Right? So now I'm hoping that we get either I hope it's not necessarily a class rework. Maybe it's a new class spec.
A third spec? Ooh.
It could technically be a third spec, but the biggest thing
user offhands.
Yeah. I think the underwhelming
My DK runs around with the ornamental knot.
Well, yeah, she's just spinning it like a mace.
It's my Mardi Gras beads, boy. Come here.
Yeah, my Melissa with her pimp cane.
Yeah. All right, that would be pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie, that would be pretty badass. Just playing a game of golf with my testicles,
Whoa.
That's Jay's fetish, all right? Blue, relax.
Yeah. I think the underwhelming realization is that they're probably gonna people are saying slumbering god weapons or Dead God weapons. Sure.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, but whatever. I just hit Pen Blackstar literally this past year. Please do not do this to me. See, some people are saying demo rings, it's just not enough. You can't introduce accessories at this point. We need to know where our armor sets are going, where our weapons are going to go. The end game players need to get excited about stuff, and then the new players need to be excited about stuff. And I think that the class and the region kind of do that job. I think that they will probably address the centralized servers at least offhandedly. Hopefully, Calpheon.
Yeah, in a comment that just says we lied.
Yeah. I think that Jay will probably answer one question about boat content and say that no, we are not currently working on any boat content, which is what they tell me every year. But I don't think that the region is necessarily going to be the big drop here. I think that we're going to see a new class, and then I think there's going to be something else big that they're going to drop. And I'm hoping against hope that it is large scale PvE of some kind. I want to see shot called coordinated PvE that you can make, and technically you can make into content, right? But people really enjoy doing and want to repeatably do over and over again. You know what I mean? I want to see that.
I miss doing the Nightfall raids and stuff like that in Destiny. I mean, I logged in every day to run one of those. It's good content.
What did you do in those?
It was just like a harder version of the dungeons. It was like an upgraded dungeon, and then you could run an actual raid, once a week for rewards and stuff like that. But I miss doing that kind of stuff because it did require is like, okay, everybody get on, we're gonna dedicate some time, we're gonna run it, and it was fun. And the dungeons now in BDO kind of feel like, all right, let me just grab whoever hasn't done it yet. We'll go run it real quick. All right, we're done. On to the next thing.
I have an upgrade. I'm gonna upgrade your idea. Okay, so instead of doing the Nightfall raids in Destiny, which are just the same thing but harder, okay, there is this thing in StarCraft 2 called Co-op Commander, and every single week there is one mission that they protect. So you play together against the AI essentially as these badass commanders, and there's all these different missions that you can do. But every week they introduce something new called a mutation, in which there's like new parameters on the map that have changed. Right? Yep. Like for example, for our raid, it could be when enemies die, they now explode, dealing big AoE damage to you and like everyone around you. Right? So like then you have to watch it, or like a plague spreads. So like when things die, they explode and a plague spreads to like members of your party, and then your health like rapidly starts ticking down over time and stuff like this. Like they could add mutation factors to like the raid. Or the dungeon that we currently have every single week, and they could change it every week, right? They could give us a different mutation every week that makes the dungeon like really, really hard, but like also makes you coordinate together on a level that maybe you wouldn't have seen before.
That's exactly have you ever played World of Warcraft? Because that's literally Mythic Plus dungeons in World of Warcraft, where every week there's different affixes, that's what they're called, instead of mutations, that have these different factors that change up how you do the dungeon. Like for example, there is this affix called Tyrannical, and Tyrannical just buffs the heck out of the bosses, and you cannot cheese it anymore. You can't like overgear it anymore. You have to do every single mechanic. Or there's another one that I remember called Sanguine, which when the mobs die, they leave a pool of blood that if you stand in it, you lose like a percentage of your HP, and they keep stacking. So the strategy is to always be kiting the mobs out of the Sanguine pools while you're fighting them. So it brings a lot more strategy involved, and I think that could work for BDO dungeons really, or for any content in the future for PvE stuff. I feel like
it way more replayable.
Replayable content is what I really, really want for the dungeons and for anything PvE related in BDO. So
I think that the biggest thing is that the dungeon is replayable, and right now we're just kind of bored with it. Like Jay, do you feel bored with the dungeon yet? You've run it more than anyone else in the game. Do you feel bored with it yet?
The only thing keeping me going whenever it comes to dungeons is I always use it as an opportunity to meet new people, like new streamers. Like, hey, have you done the dungeon yet? Like, we should do dungeon together. So that's like the biggest thing that I've been using it for, to meet new people. And I've met a lot of new friends, new people doing the dungeons every week. So it's like the biggest thing for me.
So do we want to see? Okay, there's one more dungeon level, I thought, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
There's still. Okay, so we're definitely gonna get the last dungeon level.
That's sure. That's what we said about the Heido Ball too, though. So
no, but like the Heido Ball is like the Calpheon Ball, but like light. It's like diet Calpheon Ball.
Dude, the Heido Ball this year slapped. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but it's like not as good.
Were for the Heido Ball this year?
Yeah, it's whatever. We get Jay's hammers. You know what I mean? No big deal. Do you think I want another dungeon?
That's the War of the Roses at the Heido Ball. Shut up.
I want them to finish this current dungeon and then do another one, but also I want to see large scale PvE. So we don't get everything. We can't get everything. Do you think that we're gonna see any more PvP PvE content like War of the Roses? Is the real question.
I don't think we're gonna see any more of that for a little bit. I think they'll let this simmer for probably about a year, maybe next Heido Ball or next Calpheon Ball. I think we may get okay, here's War of the Roses 2, or here's our next step in our PvE type thing. But I think Calpheon Ball, if they've announced large scale PvE content, whether it being a raid or something to just make players want to group up and do PvE content, that it would just be a slam dunk. It's so easy. It's like the lowest hanging fruit in BDO right now, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing that I think we're missing, Jay.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think I might predict one more type of sort of RBF in the future. And I,
Bro,
if I
stop
had to
giving us RBFs. Nobody cares about that content, man.
wasn't the Valencia one pretty successful? I feel like most people do Valencia now, no? Right, for the Valencia RBF.
Yeah.
Yes, but it also is just like meh.
Dude, it's
Like,
it's
the sickos that grind RBF for like multiple hours at a time, who hurt you? Like I can go in, I play like 3 matches in a row, and I'm like, all right, dude, I'm
you're
done.
just done, man. Like you just don't want to do it anymore because you're a normal person. Like I can't do RBF for extended periods of time, and I think that that's the majority of the player base. I think that's the vast majority. I think maybe 1% of the player base really enjoys RBF, and I like that they're refining that content. I don't want any more RBF content. I want you to fix it. Honestly, I would love for them to just like in this Calpheon ball, they're just like, all right, we're totally redoing our open world.
Yeah.
I want to see them just completely redo the open world.
They just announced it's the Calpheon ball. Announced Shadow Arena's coming back. Boom.
Oh yeah, it's an automatic win. Yeah, literally, you could literally
There we
say it in the
go.
same sentence. You say, "We're like this is how you brace them for impact." You say, "We're taking away the ability to flag in the open world, comma, you're getting Shadow Arena back." Period. And all everyone is gonna hear is, "We're getting Shadow Arena back," and then you won't get any blowback on the fact that you just obliterated open world PvP.
Yep.
You know what they could do?
Everybody's
with RBF?
just gonna go to Shadow Arena again.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
You know what they could do with RBF? They could make it a standalone game.
You're so stupid.
I'm gonna have a stroke on this podcast.
I agree. No, I got it. You make open world its own standalone game.
Oh my god.
You just remove it from BDO because it's so successful, and then you make it its own standalone game. That's it. They should hire me.
They didn't they already have like in those like the what do they call it, the shoutcasting stuff? Right?
No, what shoutcasting? What are you talking about? What
Never
shout?
mind.
Oh no, you're talking about yeah. For anyone that doesn't know or isn't in on the joke, Shadow Arena was extremely successful within the world of BDO, and everybody loved it. And because we loved it so much, they took it away from us and made it its own standalone game, which of course nobody went and played. And it crashed and burned super hard. It was probably a multi-million-dollar project that I've never seen crash quite that hard. And it was just a total disaster. So we're all hoping against hope that we're going to get Shadow Arena back. Now, they did say, would you guys rather have Shadow Arena or like, would you rather have them reworked Altar of Blood? I think everyone's going to say Shadow Arena, right?
Why
but
not
like,
both?
Jay, because it's 2023, Jay.
What's that girl? What's that girl meme? Porque no los dos?
Porque no los dos.
Right? Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Porque no los dos. I don't know. Did you guys ever do Altar of Blood?
I did.
Once.
I loved it so much.
Of course you did. You're the PvE Lord of the
Why am I
universe.
not surprised?
Yeah, you're literally the PvE Lord of the universe. He's like, daily?
Blood was the first PvE content.
He's
that
like,
the
daily,
video has ever
nightly,
had.
and oh so rightly, baby. I did
just
that
throwing
every
out
day.
Savage Rifts.
So stupid.
Those existed before Altar of Blood.
I did not do Savage Rift. I don't think I was I there?
I
when
never
Savage
did
Rift
Savage Rift
I
one
never
time.
did Savage Rifts, but you can't say that Altar of Blood was the first like
was the
instance
first
PvE
time I had
content
fun
for BDO.
in BDO. But it was this party of three tower defense style PvE mode where mobs would come from like 4 different sides and you would just have to defend it wave by wave, and it would get progressively harder, and certain waves had certain mechanics. Like I think wave 9 had these Elton mobs that you had to kill all at the same time, otherwise they would keep reviving.
Yep.
And wave 10 had Kudum and Leighton as bosses, and so I feel like they could revamp Altar of Blood or like some form of it in like, I feel like a tower defense style PvE mode has worked in BDO. I don't know why they took it away. Maybe they could have just left it there.
Because no one liked it but you, Jay. No one did that content but you.
Unless there was an event. Unless there was left it.
left it.
Yeah, during the event. Bro, no one did that stuff outside the event. There was no one walking up to you going, hey, do you want to do some altar of blood? I'd be like, who?
It was fun at the time. They had leaderboards too.
Yeah. The thing with PvE content is they have to keep it relevant, and they don't. That's been their biggest flaw they've always done with PvE content, is like the rewards for Altar of Blood did not scale up well years later. So if they're going to release stuff like that, they have to keep it relevant. It's the biggest problem with RBF. It's irrelevant if you're going to do anything besides just have fun PvPing, which we don't play MMOs to have fun.
Having fun.
We play MMOs for a second job, okay?
Oh.
If you want a job, go play Lost Ark. They make you work a job every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No,
the weeklies,
they all
the dailies.
left that game. We
Have
don't
you,
talk
have
about
you ever
that game
played
anymore.
Lost Ark?
Yeah, I played it for like a day. I got the dailies done for
You got
one
the
day.
dailies.
One day. And then
Yeah.
I decided it was a job, and I moved on
I did
to a
like
better
16
game.
hours of Lost Ark, and I was like, I'm good. No
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay. Any final thoughts on like the Calpheon ball and like kind of what we're expecting here? We talked about last podcast. I'm surprised none of us brought it up. Potentially Alchemy Stone rework. I think that's kind of mid, but like we've needed it for a really long
That's
time.
a Heidel Ball announcement.
That's true. That's like yeah. Again, Calpheon ball light. See, he gets it. He gets it. I'm just saying. But like, yeah, I think the biggest thing that we're looking for, I really don't want to see. If they say Altar of Blood, I'm gonna get upset. If we
I'd be
get,
so happy.
if we get,
Yeah, we know you would.
Jay, they could literally release a pinata that is actually
golem.
just explodes with loot. And it's like the most uninteresting content in the world. But because it's PvE, you'd be like, we're so hyped about this new content. Your
Yeah,
standards
everybody
are
loves
so
it, yeah.
low.
It's just a literal pinata.
You gotta keep
of a,
it low
of a,
so you keep
of a
happy.
golem.
That's how it works.
No.
You gotta keep it low so you
No.
keep meeting your expectations.
If we get tower defense BDO before we get like large scale raids, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be super mad. Because Jay, we can't have everything, okay? It's North
Why not?
America.
Oh, it's Korea actually.
I hate you. I think, like, again, I'm really hoping against hope that either one, we see like a big like class change, either we're getting a new spec or some crazy shit like that, right? Two, that we see big PvE content, like big boy cooperative PvE content that requires you to coordinate, that we could potentially make content off of, and people like are going to enjoy doing on repeat. Like, even if that's just like, hey, we're introducing a dungeon mutation every week, right? Like even if something as basic as that would be fine with me. Hey, here's the final scale of the dungeon, and now that this is out, we're going to add a mutation for it at each level or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that, I think that would be super cool. So we didn't really get to talk about the PvE balance too much, but we'll talk about a little bit of it since we just talked about it in the Calpheon ball. What kind of balance direction do you guys want to see them do for PvE here? Because we just saw Warriors getting really big buffs on the PvE. They said that they are literally, instead of just nerfing Wusa, they're just going to buff everyone up to Wusa's level. I think this is an objective mistake. Like, normally I'm all for buffing people and doing stuff like this, but like at a certain point, you could just tone the class back, and then everything, like, it's reasonable, right? But like, do you think that do you think they should be buffing everyone up to Wusa state, or do you think they just need to bring Wusa down? Jay?
I've always thought that was a little bit boring whenever they just do number adjustments, whether it's like up or down. I know that's probably like the safest way to do balancing from like a developer standpoint, but I would love for the game devs to keep adding more stuff like mass teleport for witch and wizard, right? Like I want more of that stuff for other classes. I feel like that's the direction we should go when it comes to improving on sort of like that class identity. I feel like mass teleport really fit the aesthetic of witch and wizard, and I want more of that stuff for other classes, and maybe that's the direction we need to go.
That was such a poorly implemented skill, though. It's literally not useful at all. It's literally completely. Do you know what it's useful for? The iframe. That's what you get it for. Because they limited it. You can't TP people in your guild. It is only people in your party or your platoon, so it's completely useless. It's a totally useless skill in large scale PvP, which is where it's supposed to be used.
Something more useful than
if they made it just like you could TP guild members, they don't have to be in your party. Okay, well then now it's a super useful skill that we can actually like play around and do stuff with. I agree, Jay. I think like maybe the big thing that they introduce is like support mechanics for every new class in the game, right? Like a brand new support mechanic for every class in the game would be super sick. Okay, yeah. Teltus, how do you think about this PvE direction?
I hate this PvE direction. I'm a big fan of actually like nerfing things that are outliers to bring them back in line with everything else, because what'll happen is you start getting this massive power creep of like sneaking up, you know, and they're gonna give warrior massive PvE buffs. Okay, well now another class is gonna fall behind, so they're gonna give that class massive PvE buffs, and then this other class is gonna fall behind, and then you're gonna do that, and then you're just in this constant loop of like, now we've broken the game. Now Rusa's the worst PvE class. We better buff it and bring it up with everybody else. You know, it's like, okay, like you're gonna make these weird outliers that are just like way too strong because you buffed the numbers, because instead of nerfing things, we're just buffing everything. So I don't like this direction. I have been a proponent of nerfs for every video game ever for like the longest time, but we don't like to take power away. We just want to bring everybody else up to the new standard that's arbitrary that we accidentally put into the game. I hate it. I hate this.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I just think that, like, again, why would you buff everything up? Because power creep, as Chad is saying, power creep literally is huge then. Like, you're literally pushing everything forward, and then you get problems like Kratuga. More like, Kratuga was not a crazy big problem until we started buffing the crap out of everybody's PvE, and then everyone realized that they could just kill those mobs faster and win.
Yep.
Right? You're going to get more instances of things like Kratuga if you keep buffing all of the classes in the game, because certain classes are going to be so good at certain grind spots that like why would they ever go to an end game grind spot?
Yep.
Right? Like, why would I go grind for the telescope, or why would I go grind at those end game spots if I can do, well, Kratuga is just the example we're going to use here, but like Kratuga at like Mach 7 and not have to risk any crystals and make more money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, Jay, do you think that they need to buff? Like, you didn't really get to address that too much, but do you think that they need to keep with they just only buffs in PvE, only buffs, only buffs, only buffs, or do you think that they should just nerf it down?
I'm not too sure, actually.
Take a stance, I don't know the right... Jay. Take a stance. For once in your life.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, Blue.
Okay. Here's what I noticed about like class balance, and whenever people talk about you know, things are too strong, things are too weak. I honestly think that it's okay to make strong classes, to be honest. I feel like strong classes make, how do I word it? Unbalanced and broken things, aren't they kind of fun? Isn't that why we roll to them? You know, like isn't that what we saw?
Oh yeah, no, it's like a snow globe, right?
Not justify flavor of the month.
Yeah, no, go ahead, do it, Jay. Make the decision.
I feel like, okay, here's the thing: we're all humans, right? So I honestly feel like people, like a lot of players, you know, don't realize, but I feel like in a way they're just following human instincts, you know, in a way that I think that a lot of people roll to meta classes, to the OP classes, because they're essentially choosing the strongest to survive, right? That's kind of, you know, how we are, function as humans.
Did you just relate natural selection and the evolution of humankind to the balance of our online MMO? I just wanted to make sure. Just keep going. Jay, you're cooking right now, man. Keep going. Let him cook.
Okay, here's another thing I want to cook with. Okay, another thing that I noticed like time and time again is that I just feel like maybe players are sort of like contradictory also whenever they talk about class balance, because it's like it's kind of like this losing conversation, I noticed. And what I mean by that is, if a class is too OP, people complain and then it gets nerfed. Then people complain about the nerf. Or if the class is too weak, people complain and then it gets buffed, then people complain about the buff. So well,
people are always going to complain.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm not a game developer myself. I'm just a simple awakening Wusa enjoyer, but I imagine it's a it's a big headache.
That's the flavor of the month, Jay. That's the flavor this month. Yeah.
Maybe that's why I chose Wusa. So, you know, all I will say is that I think BDO has for the most part, designed amazing classes, and that I think we should just all play whatever we want to play to have fun with the game. Because I think we can, I think we can all relate to wanting the class that we play to be the best it can be, right? And I'm giving the benefit of the doubt that whenever we do complain about our class, is that it's out of love and passion for the class. Hopefully, we can only hope that that's the case. But I'm all for power creep, is what I'm saying.
Buff it.
I took a stance.
I got a quick question. Blue, did you ever see the old Dark Knight document?
About what? Which one?
About how bad the class was?
No, I never saw it. It enlightened me.
Okay, there was a long time ago, before the class reworks came out. I think before Succession came out. Okay. There was a document. This is in the dark days of Dark Knight, where all the Dark Knights got together in the Dark Knight Discord, and there was a running Google document of all the problems with Dark Knight, and it was the most horrendous thing ever, of like a list of like why the class is dog water and the worst class in the game. And eventually that got turned around. It took like 2 years of playing the class for it to eventually get turned around. But there's 80% chance that players are just completely wrong about whatever class they're playing, and it actually does need to be
low.
Okay,
like,
so you think it's even higher?
Yeah.
So I think the problem is that players think they know what they want until they get it, and then all of a sudden they realize, oh crap, I didn't actually want this. So there are some outliers. I don't think buffing all classes is the correct direction to go, because everybody's going to be like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. And then all of a sudden, mooses are running around Tortuga at Mach 10 making a gazillion silver an hour. And they're like, oh, I did it. I'm the best class in the game. I can make the most money at this random spot that nobody ever comes to. So I don't think buffing everything is the right way.
I think I agree with Siltis. I think that nerfing is definitely the play, but let me explain why. As I have explained before on the podcast, I think that balance should be handled as if the game was a snow globe. So at the very start, you change all the things. Just really shake it up. You know what I mean? Really give us all the changes right at once. Don't just give us mass TP. No. Give us a skill on like every class that like potentially could be busted, but we don't know what the implications are and stuff. Like give us some massive buffs or reworks to all the different classes. Really shake it up, and then set the globe down, right? And then as things start to settle, okay, you can nerf things down, and then you'll get a very clear picture of a beautiful metagame by the end of the season. But then that's boring, okay? Because let me tell you right now, the game is most exciting when you shake that globe up. When you shake all of that stuff up, that's when everyone wants to play the game. You can bitch, whine, and moan about balance all you want, but you are having the time of your life when they change all of these things at the same time, and no one really knows what is super OP. And then as you set the globe down and things start to settle, they can start to nerf things down, hotfix stuff, and kind of bring things into like a reasonable view. And
it's one of the biggest...
that's what all of the major games that I see, like StarCraft 2 does this, Riot Games does this for League of Legends. Every single season is kind of my go-to example for this. At the very start of the preseason, they mix everything up, massive changes to the game, and then as the season kind of progresses, they kind of just nerf things down and they change things, and they kind of get this very clear picture just in time for Worlds. And then Worlds happens, we see who has mastered the metagame most of all, and then they shake things up again.
Yep. I agree. That's the exact thing I would like to see in BDO, because it's way more enjoyable. When League of Legends has the most players in the game during the preseason, when all the new changes get announced,
so much
everybody's
fun.
Like, "Oh, this is my time! Yo, look, this change is so sick." So it would be huge. I like it when they change the classes and stuff. I like it when they change my class to be better than all the other classes. But it is way more fun when things change. I mean, when Succession came out, it should have been every class at the same time. It unfortunately wasn't, but it was so much fun. Everybody theory crafting about what class was going to be great, and everybody's glued to the global labs just waiting for the information.
Right. I think that they also could. There's enough classes at this point that they could just change aspects of the game in like a really big way, and then like everyone would constantly be theory crafting about how this impacts their class specifically, their class and spec specifically, I think would also be a really or has really cool implications for the game as well. So I mean, like, Jay, you haven't spoken a lot on it. Like, Jay, how do you feel about like yeah.
I know you hit a lot of points that I agree with. Yeah, definitely like shaking it up. That sounds really interesting. It makes me excited as a PvE player to try out the new things that they might shake up about the classes that I play. And so yeah, that's
they always have like the tagging system and like stuff like that. Like the how easy it is to have a flavor of the month class as a secondary that you have all your gear and everything for. It's so easy in this game now. It used to not be that way, but it doesn't require a lot of time and effort to tag a character anymore. Like, go get somebody to power level you to 60, grind to 61, tag the character. You've got all your skill, but you only need what, like 1,500 skill points? No, 1,000 skill points now. Like, it's so easy to just make a new class and be like, all right, I want to tag this. I have a Megu tagged because I played it one time and I was like, well, this is actually fun. This is after the demon days of Megu, but I was like, wow, this class feels really good to play. I want to play it more, so I have one tagged. So it's like it doesn't require anything, and that was just like a whim flight of in the moment. I was like, I want a Megu. Boom, I have a Megu. It took me like a day. So yeah. They could really shake things up, and it wouldn't do any damage to your main at all, except make it more interesting to play, and then potentially give you a tag that you can play for that season or whatever. And we already have seasonal characters. Why not?
Right. All right. Okay. It does look like we are out of time. We're a little overtime. And we came with like 2 things ready. I'm like, Jay, I don't know if we have enough stuff. He's like, Blue, we have enough stuff.
We always have enough stuff. Yeah.
We always have enough stuff.
We could talk for another hour on the topics that are here on the screen.
Big true. But okay, we'll go ahead and do closing and outro here. Since I started with Tiltus last time, we'll start with Jay this time.
Oh, hi, I'm Jay Kuhn.
Already messed it up. I do
a lot of end-game PvE content, and then I'm Awakening Moose Enjoyer, and I do a lot of end-game. Did I say that already? You can't put me on the spot. You can find me at twitch.tv/JKUNVT, V before the T.
All right, on. Okay, and Tiltus.
Dude, it's so funny. We're coming up to it, and he's still just like,
yeah.
It's so good. Hello, I'm Tiltus TV. I am a Dark Knight main. I have been a Dark Knight main for the last 7 years of my life. I am a huge Dark Souls fan as well, and I play a lot of Dark Souls. Sorry, my computer just started making a really weird noise over there, so I'm gonna have to check on that in just a second.
See, he messed up too.
Yeah, he messed up
my
too.
Computer's like dying over here.
All right, that's not good. I actually can hear it, bro. Are you good, man? It's like a fan or something. All right, and I am Blue Squadron. There's always something going on this channel. We release 2 YouTube videos every single day, whether they be reactions, VOD reviews, podcasts. Yeah, I know we're going hard. We're on that content grind, man. It's about survival. It's about survival. So we also release things on we have TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts every single day, which are a tremendous amount of fun. So make sure you guys should go check all those out. Make sure you guys join the Discord so you can always see all the updates and see when I'm going to be going live and things like this. The Discord is also a community. We hang out in there. There's people hanging out in voice. We watch movies together, and it is indeed a community that you can kind of jump into. So especially if you're new to BDO, you can always jump into voice there and hang out with us because we're homies. From all of us here at the Old Moon Podcast, we wish you a great rest of your week.